कॉमर्स का टिकट ना भाई
Okay, let us start. Am I audible, all of you, and the presentation is visible? Am I audible, all of you, and the presentation is visible? Okay. Let us continue with this, the last topic of this Unit 5, because the types of addressing modes. So, if you look at the different types of addressing modes, what we have, we call it the immediate addressing mode, register addressing mode, register indirect, direct, indirect, and relative addressing modes. Okay. Though you already had direct and indirect addressing mode in the first unit, there are the certain different addressing modes are there. Like, why the addressing modes? Why? Why you need an addressing modes? Can anyone? Why the addressing modes? The different addressing modes you have. Yes, anyone? Why need a different addressing mode? To represent the magnitude of a bit, I can say to differentiate. Okay, to differentiate each and every instructions, or to differentiate, to represent. Correct. What is that? The correct meaning? Let's start with each and every and take an example also. Let's suppose consider what you mean by the immediate addressing mode. If the data need by processor is contained in the instructions, so we have opcode and operand. Operand will be of data. So let's suppose if I have like this A50 and if I let add 10. 10 means this is nothing but the data, user defined data has been added. So add 10 plus 50, the answer will be 60. So this is the data you are adding. Okay, so that is why we call as a immediate addressing mode. When I go to the next register addressing mode, that means operand will be in the register. Operand will be in the register. It might be any register B, C, D, E, H, L, anywhere. Okay, so example LDR1. So the data what we have loaded into an accumulator. Okay, STR1, that means store the data into R1. The data, the operand will be in the accumulator. Next, register indirect. Now it will be like this. Let's suppose if I have the data R1 equal to 50, and if I'll tell that, okay, LD R1. So what happens? And let's suppose consider a memory location, you have a 50 On that 50 you have the data 40. So what should be the content in accumulator if I'll write LDR1? So it will go to the R1. What might be the data that will be considered an address? It will go to that address, and from that address it will copy the data to the accumulator. This is what we call as indirect addressing mode. Is it clear, all of you? Is it clear? Okay, so that is what we call the indirect addressing mode. So for example, LDR1, how to represent the direct and indirect, there is a difference. So if you put it a round bracket in R1, so it indicates it's a register indirect addressing mode. Okay. Now direct addressing mode, it will be given like LD50. No, right, directly give the address, and that's what we call as a direct addressing mode. Clear, all of you? So LD50, ST50, add 50. Now 50 is an effective address, so it will go to that address, contain the copy, and then it will do the addition over here. Okay, this is what we call direct addressing. Previously what we had seen is the registered direct and register indirect. Okay, so this one is a direct addressing mode. Now it's indirect addressing mode indicated with at the rate. It's the same as the indirect means it will go to the, let's suppose consider on a 50 you have the data 40, and in memory if you have 40 the data is 30. So when you write like this at the rate 50, so it will go to the 50 first, it will take this data, it will make it as an address, it will go to that address, what is the content that will be loaded in a accumulator. So that is what we call indirect addressing mode. Is it clear, all of you? Is it clear, all of you? Okay, good. So this is the relative addressing mode. Now whenever you write an physical address, kind of things need to be generated. So we have a program counter, and that program counter will be added to the address to make it relative address. Okay, so 826 plus 24, that makes an effective address. So it will go to that address, read the data, and copy it to the places according to the program. So that is what we call relative address, effective address also you can say. So here what happens when you write an LD256, so effective address is already 50. Let's suppose consider that is a program counter is already 50, plus it will add 256 to get a new effective address, and then it will go to that address and it will read the component. Okay, this is an example. Index addressing mode. Index means, let's suppose LD50 in bracket it is written 2. So now that 2 indicates that what the user defined need to write the data. Okay, so here is like 50. So it will be like a 50 plus 2, it will be like 52. Previously the program counter is added. Now here in this index addressing mode, the user defined data need to be addressed or need to be added. Okay, the 52, 53, if you write it, you will add 3 to generate effective address. And the last, auto increment and auto decrement addressing mode. So here whenever you, let's suppose consider, you always write INR. Why? If you write INR C, that means the C is 10. When you write an INR C, the C will be incremented by 11. So each and every time you need to write an address or instruction. But here what you need to do, just you need to increment by 1. It's auto increment. Okay, the program counter or data, what is it? So what happens over here, let's suppose add R1 if you do. Okay, so add R1, that means R1, what is the data? So 400, it will go to the 400, it will add this 7 to the accumulator, and answer will be stored in accumulator. After the data has been stored, this R1 automatically it will increment by 401. So it will go to the next 401, do the same process. So that is what we call auto increment. Same way we have auto decrement. So once you read this data, it will decrement by 1 itself, is 399. Okay, so these are the different types of addressing modes we have. First, immediate. Second, register direct, indirect, direct address, indirect address, and auto increment, auto decrement, then relative address, and the index addressing mode. Total, how many addressing modes we have? Total 8 addressing modes we have. Okay, so in exam, if the questions will be there, like write a type of addressing modes, you need to write this with a diagram and one example. So you can get a full marks to for that question particular. Okay. Now, based on that, these are the things you know. Like what do you mean by arithmetic? What do you mean by logical? And what do you mean by shift operations? If you look at the arithmetic operation, all the addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, increment and decrement kind of operation being done, and these are the mnemonics of that instruction. Now in the logical and or operations, so look at over here the clear, complement, and or, exclusive or, clear, carry, and these are the mnemonics for the same. Shift operation, the shift right, shift left, logical shift, everything is been written over here, and the shift instructions also. Branching instructions, so you know about the branching instructions and the mnemonics. We already covered these things into the second unit. Okay, so BR, JMP, SKP, then call, return, compare, and TST, everything we had covered in the second unit. Now, if we have the flags, so how the flag will be effect? So let us start with the first flag, carry flag. What do you mean by carry flag? It is written over here, then also write it down in the chat box. What do you mean by carry flag? What do you mean by carry flag? What do you mean by carry flag? Anyone? Write it down in the chat box. What do you mean when the carry flag is set to 1 or 0? Yeah, that is what Abhishek. When it will be set to 1 or 0? Single bit register, I understand, Jaishankar, but when it is going to be a set or reset, that's what I'm asking. When that value will be 1 or when that value will be 0? When that value will be 1 or when that value will be 0? Zero means reset, 1 means set, but what condition it will set and at what condition it will be 0. When CS is 1, then it will be 1. C7. Harshit, I can write it as a C8. C0 to C7, there is a summation you will get. And the last bit, what you will set to 1, otherwise it will be set to 0. Clear? Clear? Is it clear, all of you, what I mean to say? Okay, that is just carry flag. What about the 0 flag? What about the 0 flag? What about the 0 flag? When the 0 flag will be 1 and when the 0 flag will be set to 0? when the zero flag will be set to 1 and when the zero flag will be set to 0. If there is an arithmetic and bitwise operation, then it will be 0. The zero flag are always be yes. Whenever you perform an arithmetic and the logical operation, and if the value of accumulator is 0, at that point only the zero flag will set to 1. Otherwise it will set to 0. Okay. Now there is one more flag we call sign flag. For what we use sign flag? Yes, for what we use sign flag? Okay, for what we use sign flag? Higher order bits, that means which bit you are talking about? The last MSB bit. Okay, if MSB bit is 1, it indicates the number is sign magnitude. Is 1, it means his number is negative. If it is 0, it will be positive numbers. Okay. Last is overflow flag. When the overflow flag it will be set when you will do the XORing of C7 and C8 according to the answer, the overflow flag will be set to 1. So now let us draw the diagram. Here look at this. It is an ALU F0 to F7. In F7, what might be the value that will be added into the sign flag? I told you about the MSB bit. And if it is 8 bit is there, it will check for output. Total 8 bits, all 8 bits, and all the 8 bits are 0, then according to that logic, the 0 flag will set to 1, otherwise it will set to 0. C7 and C8 XOR operation, and then it will write it to the overflow flag. And you know about the carry flag, that is a C8. Okay, so this is the diagram of the total flag what is there in the basic computer. Is it clear, all of you? All of you understood the thing? Is it clear, all of you? Okay. Next is interrupt. There are the two types of the interrupts we have. We call it an external interrupt and the internal interrupt. Example of the internal interrupt is divide by 0. That means the computer, when you are asked to do the operation of that divide by 0, it will go to the infinite loop. And you have only one option to shut it down or restart the PC. And that is what we call as a software interrupt or an internal interrupt. External interrupt means whenever you connect a pen drive or a, let's suppose, consider the battery is low and you cannot able to connect power supply. At that time, there is power supply indicating the pop-up window we call as an interrupt. Okay, clear, all of you? All of you clear this thing? External and internal interrupts. When you connect an USB pen drive also, there will be a pop-up window on your laptop window, that do you want to open it or not. If you know, it's okay. If it is yes, open it. So that is what we call also interrupt. Okay, this is a kind of a software interrupt. Switching the mode to the superior mode allows the execution of certain class of an operations which are not allowed in the user mode. I think is okay. But both of these, like internal and the software, are very much near to each other. So the characteristics of a risk, it's relatively risk. What is the full form of risk? What is the full form of risk? Anyone? Write it down in the chat box. Write it down in the chat box. Overflow flag once again, sir. Abhishek. In overflow flag, we have a 8-bit. In 8-bit, if both the bits are 1, it have a possibilities to get the values more than the bit what we have. XOR operation, and if the value is come as a 1 or 0, that will be directly written into an overflow flag. Is it clear, Abhishek? Abhishek. The full form of risk. Write it down in the chat box. What is the full form of risk? Everyone knows about the risk and CISC, correct? RISC stands for Reduced Instruction Set, and CISC stands for a Complex Instruction Set. What are the major difference? Like I can say that which have a RISC instructions have a relatively less instructions because it's a reduced instruction set. Obviously, have a less number of instructions. Relatively few addressing mode. If you have a less instructions, then obviously the addressing modes are less. Memory access limited to load and store instructions. You need to use less number of instructions, so we cannot able to include a more instructions related to the memory. As the limited number of memory read and memory write operations are required. So that is what we call as a load and store instructions. All operations done within a register or the CPU. Most of the operations, then and only then it can have a more speed and it can have a reduced instruction set. They have the fixed length, easily decoded instruction format, obviously, because they have a small number of instruction sets. So each and every instruction to be like to be similar. So single cycle instruction format and the hardwired rather than the microprogram control unit. So if you have a less number of instructions, less features, you can directly go for implementing hardwire. RISC. Okay, you don't require at all about the microprogram control unit. It's okay if you have a hardware control unit. Okay, that is what the advantage or characteristics of a RISC. Again, the CISC. Just read the instructions, and if any of the point if you didn't understand, please let me know. So inform me so that I can go to the next slide. My no doubt. Fine. So from the unit 5. Any doubt till now what we had learned pre post second point? Okay, let me go to the second point. Some instructions that perform a specialized task as they are used infrequently. Okay. For example, if I'll say Harshit, in and out, okay, that are being used whenever you want to send or receive the data to the port. Okay, we are not using frequently those instructions, and that is what the point is telling. Clear, Harshit? Harshit? Okay, so let me present the screen of an unit 6. The screen is visible, all of you? Okay. So just I want to, before starting this unit, I want to ask you to write down the difference between a pipeline and the vector processing, all of you. Write it down at least the difference. Once you understand the difference between a pipeline and the vector, then and only then you can able to understand the topic. All of you just write it down first thing. What is the difference in the pipeline and what do you mean by the vector processing? Searching the internet to write the answer. How much time it takes to write the answer? Okay. So many of them wrote the answer, the pipelining implementation techniques. Okay. Decompose the sequential process into a sub process. Abhishek, good. Abhishek, Jayashankar, Ravindra. Only 3 or 4 students are writing. Okay, let me discuss this thing in the detail. Let's suppose consider. See, the pipeline and the parallel and the vector, all these 3 words are different. Okay. What we have, the pipeline is also different, parallel is also different, and the vector is also different. And they have the different execution time also. That means at the time they won't run it, they are once the process complete, which will take the more faster execution time that depends upon the architecture what you are using. So system may have 2 or more ALUs and may be able to execute 2 or more instructions at the same time. That is what the parallel processing. For example, let's suppose consider you have A, B, C, D. That is a bunch of clothes you have. A, B, C, and D. There is a one washing machine, there is a one dryer, and the person who is doing the ironing. Well, you use the parallel processing. What happens? You have 4 washing machine, 4 dryer, and 4 person to do the ironing. That means what should be the throughput for the system at the same time? But what is the disadvantage of this? Let's suppose if I want to design a computer, what do you think? The size of a computer will be larger or smaller? What do you think? Larger or smaller? It will be smaller. Doing the parallel things, let's suppose 5 data if I need to do at the same time, I must require 5 ALUs, 5 memories, and 5 registers. So to accommodate all these things, 555, I must require a smaller structure or a larger structure. So obviously it will be a larger structure. It never be smaller because 4 things are working at the same time. That is a parallel processing. And to do the parallel processing, I must require a 4 different accessories to do work. So ALU, memory, register banks, program counters, stack pointers, everything I must require. Okay. So that was the overall scenario, and let's continue this techniques or the chapters in the next class. Till that, all of you can write the attendance in a sequence. In a sequence, don't write it in a random way. Sequence means sequence. Start Dirga. Those who write can leave. Rest of the students, do you want to write attendance or directly I can stop? How many complete Kushal? If you wrote, you can leave. Yeah, I'll extend the deadlines also, yes. Okay, but as the mid semester has been gone far, we'll complete this unit, all the things in this week only. Okay, so you can write the assignment and we'll extend the date also. Okay, you wrote, you can leave now. No other students are remaining, correct?